Hi guys, Ronnie Rice back at you. Want to talk to you guys about how to protect wealth or how to build wealth, but more specifically, how to protect wealth. So for you guys that know me, all my podcasts, all my YouTube stuff is coming fresh off the print. Because usually I've had a ton of calls about X, Y, and Z. How do I do this? How do I do that? Yada yada yada. Woo woo. So one of the biggest ways to protect and build wealth is trust. I know you got a lot of you guys been hearing about the trust. Oh, how do you do it? Revocable, irrevocable trust, living trust, springing trust, all these jazz. Hey, all of them kind of do similar things. So the whole thing with the trust came about really because if you put all your assets in a trust, cars, houses, bank accounts, yada, yada, yada. You have a trustee and you have a beneficiary. And the trustee and beneficiary can be you. It can be the same person. And once something, happen, once you pass away, then all you have to do is based on the trust documents, the next trustee is appointed, the next beneficiary is appointed. Now, some of the pluses and minuses of it of the trust. One is you don't have to go through the probate courts. It is its own corporation. You have to. It has its own tax ID number. You have to meet quarterly. It is a corporation. That corporation pays taxes. That corporation has this due diligence to keep up with property taxes if it owns property, pay business taxes if it owns businesses, life insurance premiums, keep up life insurance premiums. If you have a board of trustees, if you decide to, hey, I want to have 3 or 5 people as trustees over there, most of the time you have to pay those trustees. So then therefore the trust has to make some type of money. So that you kind of go into the whole, well, how does that trust make money? If it's just a car and a house, are you renting the house out? Are you rent the car out? Is just for the benefit or of a disabled individual that you're in the care of? It's a lot of different avenues that you look at to. One of the issues with trust, and I've seen this firsthand, is depending on who's your trustee, if it's not you, is those people kind of going awry. Those kind of individuals kind of, because they meeting quarterly, right? And they're in control of it. Now, the trust document does have to have a certain amount of control on those assets and what it does. But one of the things that we call is rules against perpetuity. We call it RAPS. That's how I remember for the bar. For those of you studying for the bar, RAPS, rules against perpetuity. All that means that any product, money, cars, anything tangible has to be vested within 21 years with a individual. So the whole purpose of that is that, say for instance, let's say Uncle Sam, right? Uncle Sam, which I don't even know if Uncle Sam was a real person now I think about it. Let's say Uncle Sam, who lived hundreds of years ago, uh, hey, had $100 million and said, hey, I want to give this $100 million to my kids. But if my kids don't do anything with their life, then I want to give it to the church. But then after the church uses the money, I want to make sure the churches, celebrate, collecting rattlesnakes. I don't know, something like that. So the problem comes, as you can tell, is you got somebody who died hundreds of years ago, still controlling stuff that people in the present have to deal with. So you only can transfer or you only can manage that transaction from yourself to another person or the life of a person. So you have this thing too, where it's like some people have let's say one person has given a property, but that person has complete ownership of it, but until person B lifetime. So person B can stay at their property until they die, even though person A owns it, but you control it until that person died. Now after that, it's still person A. Person A can do whatever they want to do with their property, as long as the person B is still alive, is not living, or has given up their rights to do so. So let's bring it back to to trust. I know I kind of went down a rabbit hole, but I kind of have to follow those things so you kind of understand. With trust, you typically have a revocable, irrevocable trust. irrevocable trust kind of gives you more tax benefits, gives you more protection on, with certain government funding, Medicaid, Medicare, things of that nature. What a lot of people don't understand is, if let's say you have somebody has to go to a nursing home, and let's say they have $500,000, they saved up into their retirement, what have you. Well, you can't get on, Medicaid, Medicare will not pay for that nursing home until you spend that money down. However, you can put that money into a spendthrift trust, which a company I used to work with, harmless plug, Alabama Family Trust, who's here in Alabama. Excuse me, who's here in Alabama, do what they do is you can put those funds, the property, yada yada yada, into that trust. The person has access, limited access to that property, as long as they're living, and then any balance that's left over goes to the state in those Medicaid, Medicare programs. But you have to create a irrevocable trust for that to happen. So once again, trust has their benefits, and also have their issues too. So you hear a lot of business success gurus, hey, put everything in the trust, put everything in trust. The big movement now is you get a corporation either goes to a trust, or and the trust goes to a church. So anybody can, technically formulate a church. Well, a lot of people don't know that. And it's one of those things where you don't necessarily have to apply for a 501c3. For most churches, once you establish a church, you automatically get the 501c3 status. So then what happens is that church owns that quote unquote corporation, and any money that's made kind of goes to the church, and then therefore the church doesn't have to pay the tax because it's a tax exempt organization. So a lot of people doing that now, which I'm not sure how long that's going to last, because you do have to be a bona fide church, whether you have a board of directors, deacons, actual congregation, and the congregation doesn't have to be huge. You have to have a regular reporting meeting, whether that's like every Sunday, every Saturday, once a month, whatever it is, to show that, you're actually they say religious organization, but I mean, a lot of people don't know the KKK is actually considered a religious organization. So, take it is how you want to take it. So, once again, the trust has a lot of benefits, also has a lot of due diligence. You got to make sure whoever's on the trust is going to meet quarterly. You have to keep notes. You have to do voting whenever anything changes. And if the trustees do not follow the trust documents, anybody can file a lawsuit to come in and say, hey, this trust is not doing what it's supposed to do. And then what happened is the state would take over, get a conservator. Conservators then starts, basically controlling the trust like it should be, or they would just dismantle the trust altogether. So once again, you letting other people kind of get into the business, but at the same time, one of the benefits of it is if somebody passes away, you do not have to go through that 6-month probate process, get letter testamentary, get a bond, and make sure a person has a will. If that person doesn't have a will, as soon as that person dies, the trust document, the four corners of that document controls. But once again, you have to operate that trust as a corporation as its own tax ID number. So when I talk about building wealth, you have to know kind of where you want to go with it. You want to know, like, what's your wealth? What's your main way of you developing wealth? They say the most millionaires created off by real estate. You got the Charlie Munger, you got the Jimmy Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway, excuse me. Guys, I took speech in 5th grade, so don't laugh at me. They made their money investment, but also now they're going into real estate. You got people do startups like the Steve Jobs and the Bill Gates, and you got people that they develop their money different types of ways. So that's going to determine how you're going to formulate. You have this big thing, this big initiative now. It's called the Big Give Back, I think it's called. So all the billionaires are basically saying, hey, they'll give most of their money away. They're going to only leave a certain percentage of funds for their kids, because once again, depending on how much wealth you got, that kind of determines how your kids go to grow up and how you handle that too. So I always tell people The goal is to increase your wealth, increase your protection, but at the same time, you got to think of things holistically. Like, how do you want things to be left when you leave? Once again, you got the rules of perpetuity. You only can control so much after you leave. So, what is what is your your lasting legacy you want to be, and that's going to determine how you're going to set up your asset protection, your wealth building. Guys, I know I just hit you guys with a lot. I try to pack in a lot. Excuse me for looking to the right. I just want to make sure I'm in time. Thank you guys for watching. Like, leave comments, share. Follow me on social media. All my platforms get Rice now. I'm not on Glitch, Twitch, whatever that is yet. I haven't quite figured out yet. And to be honest with you, my time's kind of limited. But you always feel free to give me a call, shoot me a text, 205-222-9815. You guys have a blessed day.